Now, when you're thinking of electric vehicles, chances are that you're thinking of either of two things. Either you're thinking of the time when you're going to be having some range anxiety, or you're thinking of the time when you're going to have fun in a straight line. However, meet the electric vehicle that's fun all of the time. This is the Porsche Taycan. Let's start with the way it looks, and clearly it looks like a Porsche. The front end design with the fat buttress at the back, complemented by the single strip LED tail lamps, bring forth the Porsche 911 DNA. What I particularly liked was the vents behind the front wheel arches and just how simple and minimalistic the Taycan looks overall. Nothing about it screams, "Look, I am an eco-warrior," but still it manages to get across the idea that this is an electric car at first glance. However, it is the way how these design elements come together to make the car look like a proper package, and especially the way this car sits really hits it out of the park with this long low profile and this sloping roofline, which makes it look like a proper Porsche. However, there's smartness in this design too, because a small touch over here would open up your charging port. But here's the cool part, there's a charging port on both sides of the car, so it doesn't matter how you've parked it, you can always charge the Taycan. And with that, let's talk about the interior of this Porsche. Now here inside the Taycan, well, you really are in the future, because everything here is screens. You really don't have a single button here in the front except for turning the ignition on and putting the car on park. Everything is a screen. Speaking of putting it in park, here's how you engage drive and everything over here. Unconventionally placed, but I think it's rather cool. However, let's talk about the party pieces, because there's a lot of screens over here. You have one right in front of the passenger as well. They have access to pretty much everything and can control the features of the car as well. I think that's a pretty good touch if you just want your passenger to set the navigation or something. However, in the middle also you have a touch screen. You can go to the drive menu and customize how you want the car to drive. We'll talk about that in detail in a little bit. But speaking of the screens, they have great UI, great display, crisp graphics, and they're a delight to use. However, over here at the bottom also you have screens. Now this is for your AC controls and ventilation and all of that. And while this is not as good as the screens in the front, they get the job done. However, I do wish there was a volume knob, because that just makes things easier. If you're alone driving, your eyes on the road, you can just play with that knob. But no complaints. The Taycan is so dependent on the touch inputs that if you have to adjust the AC vents, you have to do that through the touchscreen as well. While this is a cool trick, agreed, but adjusting the vents while driving becomes a very difficult task. Now coming to what's in front of you, well, there's a curved screen once again. But here's the cool part. Now yes, the graphics and all are cool and everything, but this is touch enabled. So you have your headlight controls and some buttons to set the suspension settings and the ride height and turn the ESC off. You can do all of that with the touch of a button on the screen. Why isn't everyone doing this? This is so cool. All in all, great place to be in. The Taycan also comes with features like wireless charging and USB-C ports all over the cabin. However, if you're someone who likes to have some physical buttons to control things like volume and all, like I do, you still have some physical buttons on the steering wheel, which is a good touch. See what I did there? Nevertheless, this is a Porsche steering wheel, so it is great to hold, and that brings me to the ergonomics. This is a Porsche, so you sit low, you have a sporty driving position, and you have these two haunches visible in front of you that give you an idea of how big your car is out in the front. You of course have heads-up display as well. All in all, you have good visibility and it's a commanding, controlling driving position. While the Taycan looks like a proper sports car, it does have realistic space to offer for rear seat passengers as well. Now coming to the rear seat experience of the Taycan, the first thing you notice is actually that you have space over here to keep your phone and your knickknacks. and it's lined up with grippy material because you don't want things flying off. Fast car problems, you see. But nevertheless, you also have a drop-down armrest with a couple of cup holders. Your AC controls are again all touch inputs, so you can change however things you want. But you also interestingly have a settings menu where you can adjust a lot of things. Nice attention to detail.
If anything, it is the fact that the Taycan has a glass roof, which can be a bit concerning given how hot our summers get. And since it is just glass, it will let a bit of heat inside the cabin. Still, it did not get too bad while the car was with us.
Now let's talk about the space on offer. Well, the legroom is quite a lot. You can actually push your feet under the front seat to carve out a little bit more foot space as well. And while the visibility is decent, it is hampered quite a lot by this large front seat. However, the fact that you have a humongous glass roof on top actually helps a lot in terms of visibility and does not make you feel suffocated here at the back.
The Taycan comes with a 79.2 kilowatt-hour battery that supports charging speeds of up to 225 kilowatts. You can also opt for a larger 93.4 kilowatt-hour battery, which is about 77 kilos heavier, but that supports charging of up to 270 kilowatts. Now, keep in mind, finding a charger with this speed in India is impossible. So what you need to remember is that from a standard 11 kilowatt charger, the Taycan will charge from 0 to 100% in 8 hours. A 50 kilowatt DC charger, on the other hand, will charge the battery from 5% to 80% in 1.5 hours.
Now, one of my favorite design elements on the Taycan is this Porsche lettering at the back. And in this entire panel, there's actually quite a lot of attention to detail, and I think that looks quite cool. However, that brings me to the boot space. And as you can see, there's a space saver wheel inside, but still there's quite ample amount of boot space on offer. However, that's not all, because here at the front, you also have space. You see, the Taycan is an electric vehicle, so it doesn't have an engine per se. It has motors, we'll get to that, but it doesn't have it here. So Porsche has given you a little bit more space to keep your stuff here at the front. So is this a front trunk, a front, or is this a front boot? A boot, a fruit, I don't know. Let's just get to the performance bit.
We tested the base spec rear wheel drive Porsche Taycan, which means it gets one electric motor powering the rear wheels. Now, you might think that I would say that the way this EV accelerates is the best and most exciting part, and it won't entirely be true, because what Porsche have made, in short, is the best driving electric car on the planet. The Taycan feels planted, and even though it is literally moving over a ton of batteries around, it does not feel so. Yes, this base model might not be the quickest of the lot, with a 0 to 100 km an hour time of 5.4 seconds and 0 to 200 km per hour dash time of 17.6 seconds. But it is definitely the most engaging. The way the throttle response is set up, the way the steering weighs up at high speeds, and the feedback that the driver gets is absolute top-notch. And since it only has a 2-speed transmission, whose shift you can't really tell by the way, power is always just a tap of the throttle away, and the Taycan is seriously quick when slicing through traffic. But what's commendable is the amount of adjustability you have on the Taycan. You can set pretty much everything that contributes to the driving experience as per your liking, and the result shows instantly. On top of that, if you raise the car's ride height, you won't scrape the belly. At least it did not during our testing. Bad patches of roads and speed breakers were dealt with, although with a bit of caution. So not only does the Taycan offer sports car-like driving experience, an electric car-like acceleration and eagerness, it also brings with itself a high degree of usability, and it is this combination that makes it an absolute stellar deal to go for.
at the end of the day, the Porsche Taycan is a proper Porsche and is an event whenever you will take it out for a drive. And what it does best is that it takes the entire idea of an electric vehicle and spins it on its head and gives you a car that not only looks cool, stands out from the crowd, is lightning fast, but will also make you look environmental friendly and a little bit more aware of the situations around us. I think that's a win-win on every parameter. So without any doubt, this is the best electric car that money can buy in India right now.